Hey, very good evening. In fact, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our participants across the globe. Extremely happy to welcome you all to the panel discussion today. We'll be discussing about the resilience in the face of cyber threats, sharing a few lessons from the banking and financial services sector. Today, uh, we have an extremely knowledgeable and experienced set of panelists joining me from across the financial services sector. This panel discussion is scheduled by uh, um, Kerala Cyberdo in association with the HAC'KP 2025 event. So, first of all, thank you so much, Kerala Cyberdo, for providing us this opportunity to listen from the experts, share our thoughts, and learn and discuss together. Thank you so much. Um, Let me welcome my fellow panelists today. We have, uh, as I said, we are extremely privileged to have a set of panelists representing different industries from the financial services sector. We have Babitha BP, who is the deputy CISO and general manager at SBI with decades of experience handling information security and cybersecurity in uh, various large banks. So prior to SBI, Babitha was vice president of internal audits at Rebit, Reserve Bank of India. Next, I would like
Thank
to
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Georgie, for the warm welcome. Thank you for inviting me for this event.
Next, I would like to welcome Jojy Payyanickal, who is the CTO of Geojit Financial Services,
Yeah. Thank you,
who
Georgie.
has who has been one of the core members of the industry, primarily who has played a very key role in designing the core system on which a lot of securities and brokerage related transactions are happening day in and day out. So I don't have anybody better than Jojy Payyanickal is the apt person to represent that particular sector. Would like to hear his thoughts in the next 1 hour. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining us, by Jojy. Next, I would like to welcome um, Midhun Kumar, representing Lulu Financial Holdings. He's VP of Cybersecurity with wealth of knowledge and technical expertise handling cybersecurity challenges, which is very unique compared to the rest of the industry. He handles compliance related challenges across various nations. Like in fact, he operates across 14 or 15 different countries with varied uh, regulatory requirements, which is very much applicable to remittance and money exchange related aspects. So he has wealth of knowledge and experience handling those challenges, and he'll be able to share us some thoughts on how he was able to address many of those and bring in innovation to address them.
Thank you, George.
Next, I have Venugopal Parameswara, who is the CISO of CSB Bank, uh, with wealth of knowledge in typically what we call a phygital banking, where the physical branch network and digital banking, mobile banking, etc., has come together to provide services to their legacy customers. Um, Extremely privileged to have you with us, Venu. There is a small lag from my side, primarily because I'm hearing an echo, but apologies for that. Uh, Getting into the crux of today's discussion, across the industry, whether it is fintech or healthcare or general IT services or manufacturing, cybersecurity has been one of the back-end functions in previously. And most of the companies, when I started my career, say 2 decades back, we were part of uh, like cybersecurity or IT security was primarily part of an IT function, which is more a backend function. So we were like our existence were always behind the curtains. Over these years, we have seen the relevance of cybersecurity growing a lot. And now cybersecurity is the core function which sits along with six in the board and has got a key role discussing the business sustenance and resilience. So the sustenance and prosperity of business, cybersecurity has got a huge say in that. This is very much relevant and very much visible when it comes to um, uh, when it comes to um, uh, uh, sectors like financial sectors, because financial sectors, the impact of a breach or a cybersecurity incident is not limited to their specific business or their specific customers. Considering the type of organizations that the panelists are representing here today, the impact of a cybersecurity breach in their specific organization or the domain can have ripple effects, which can affect the common man and to a certain extent the nation's economic backbone as well. So that shows how important cybersecurity is for the specific sectors that we see. And I would like to hear from the panelists their thought on how they have seen cybersecurity emerging from a backend function to the position that which is currently in, where the the organization as well as the industry pays huge attention to cybersecurity inputs, and cybersecurity has huge weightage when a business decision is taken. I would I would open this question to the panelists. I would request you to introduce yourself, add your points, and share your thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Georgie, for the wonderful question, which is very relevant. And myself, Babitha, I'm Deputy CISO of SBI. So, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. It is not only the board or the people who are working the ground or with the cybersecurity team. It is when it comes to an organization, it is everyone's role. And when it comes to banking industry, it even percolates to the customers who is using our solutions, or the cyber hygiene, what they are following matters. So we have to say that it is everyone's responsibility. But still, when it comes from top down, the efficacy or the approach that need to be taken or that need to be implemented at the ground will be more effective. The problem with the risk or cybersecurity or such kind of anything related to risk is that unless and until it happens to our near ones or to the known industry, we hesitate to believe that such kind of instances will happen. And I would like to thank COVID for that, because during that time there were a lot of attacks happening across the world. And I think India is the one where the attacks was not much affected, especially to the financial industry. Other than that, across the world, even some countries has made it as a emergency, a national emergency, called for as a national emergency, whereas we were intact with such kind of attacks because of the cyber security resilience which we are having, which is already with us, which has helped us to counter all these kind of attacks. And when this started happening, then everyone become more vigilant towards this cyber security field, where which made them think that it can happen to me also today or tomorrow. So, and now people are working more on the detection, how fast I can detect it. Attacks might happen, but how fast I can detect, contain it, and move forward, or recover my business and start it again. So that is the kind of thought. Even our management also accepted that kind of thought, and they are supporting very well in all aspects to put security, even security solutions, or coming up with new strategies that need to be implemented. So that will really help us. And especially when a instruction is given from the top management. It is the responsibility that it need to be implemented or need to be completed at the ground. So definitely it will really help the cybersecurity to nurture in the way it is and to move forward.
Thank you so much, Babitha. As you have rightly said, there were some trigger points across the during this timeline, which really made cybersecurity the industry realized the importance of cybersecurity, and that has been the turning point when the voice of cybersecurity has been taken more seriously. And yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Venu, would you like to share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure, sure. So over the years, in fact, I've seen a dramatic change in the way the organization, put the responsibility on the board. For example, earlier it used to be more of a backboard or back office checklist kind of a scenario, and now it is accountability, right? Accountability goes to the board also. Now, the top level accountability has gone up because of the threat and adversarial impact what we saw today in the world, and also regulatory pressures. For example, after the Equifax breach in 2017, there is a major repercussion to the board. Right, the board was actually been put on to task. They have been penalized. Similarly, regulators also, strengthened their governance initiative. For example, RBI, right, in the digital lending, accountability on cybersecurity breach has been put on to the board. Similarly, in IT governance and risk circulars, it has been mentioned that okay, cybersecurity strategy of the bank need to be approved by the board. Similarly, there should be a periodic oversight of IT governance and risk assessment should be allied to the board members. And even the budget allocation need to be verified in terms of does the CISO or the security functions be provided with adequate budget and efficiency of the control and continuity and disaster recovery measures have been adequate or not, right? So a lot of accountability goes to the board members of it. So that's one key change which we observed.
Thank you, Venu. And I guess when it comes to the scenario of India, where we have about like a very good penetration in terms of accessibility to banking services, considering the different spectra of individuals and societies that we have across the country, it is hugely um, it is not just limited to what the board is demanding. I believe cybersecurity and giving confidence to the common man on how safe it is to do digital banking with the specific bank that you are banking with is something which drives a lot, which gives a lot of confidence in the common man. And that has been one key success factor for the adoption and acceptance of everything that we see from the India stack related to financial sector at the moment. And
Yeah,
definitely banks, each and every bank has got a huge stake in making that happen. Thank you.
true, true.
Mithun, you represent a totally different domain considering the 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 typical banking and related aspects, and your visibility is very much more than what um, a specific individuals or professionals who operate in specific countries have. You're juggling with regulatory requirements from across the different nations, following different types of governments and governance, and the potential impact which can be there in terms of compliance aspects is very much different from what we see in the regular financial sector world. So what is your thought on that? When did the organization or the industry start recognizing cybersecurity during these years? What is the trigger for that?
Yeah. Uh, in my point of view, actually, like my fellow panelists said, actually, there are a lot of events happened that steers to bring the cybersecurity from the back office to a boardroom. So we used to say actually cybersecurity got out from the server room and got a permanent seat in the the executive board. Uh, like what I remember now is actually in 2017. I mean, we all we cannot forget that the WannaCry breakout happens. that really shows to the world that a single vulnerability can bring down the entire organization down, right? I mean, it's not only for the financial entities, but across, even the hospital gone shutdown state. So that actually, that one of the key area, I would say, that triggers, I mean, the management started looking into it when the cybersecurity, yeah, it can affect your brand, it can affect your the customer trust, which built over an years, or which cost a decade. And in our area or our domain of global remittance, actually we used to operate in multiple countries, mainly in GCC and APAC, where we see multiple regulators, and they are all actually, since it's highly demanded markets and rapidly growing, digitally growing very rapidly. So the regulators are also pushing us hard into have a more cybersecurity hygiene, or more cybersecurity, in terms of very solid foundation on the cybersecurity front. So now the management and the board, I would say, actually they are treating cybersecurity, not only cybersecurity as a compliance, also treating one of the key risk area, which is a pillar to keep up the organization reputation and the customer trust, and to adopt the the future technology also.
Within, I understand that the regulatory push that you are having in terms of regulatory requirements from across different countries have pushed your team as well as your organization to come up with certain solutions, which end of the day has given much better process or product or customer experience. We'll come to that later, because I know you have very good stories to say, uh, like from your experience. We'll come to that. Thank you. And Jojy, you have seen how the broking and securities industry has been changing over the, like in India, like since the inception. So like we'll be interested to
Yeah.
hear from you.
Thank you, John. So the question you asked is, we have seen the change in the approach of the boards, and I think it is not only here; it's a global phenomenon. A boardroom awakening is there globally, particularly in financial sector. And cybersecurity is no longer a technical concern. It is the responsibility of everyone, but it is also a fiduciary responsibility. So boards are now overseeing cyber risk as part of the enterprise risk management. That is point number one. And boards are also very keen, and they are ensuring that the regulatory compliance is met in this regard. And obviously, every board has the responsibility to protect the shareholder value and ensure that the reputational points are also considered. Any cyber incident will have an impact on that. So the shift was gradual until or before COVID, and after COVID, as the fellow panelists mentioned, the pace was different. Now there are more regulatory focus. SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, has come up with cybersecurity framework, cloud security resilience framework, and other circulars in this regard. So naturally, that awakening has happened, and now it is a topic which is every board we have some or later topics on this, and there is a tightening of the second level controls as well. So if you ask me primarily what triggered the shift, of course, that is the major breaches like Equifax or other breaches which we had in the past, the regulatory pressure, and also the talent gap. If you see, not all the board has tech savvy or cybersecurity experts. So there was naturally a call for including CISOs or tech-savvy directors to be part of the board for taking informed decisions. So that was the major triggers, and I feel that will continue.
Thank you so much, Jojy. And in fact, represent like the from you the specific industry that you are representing, um, the the percentage of the growth in terms of retail investors has been significant in the past few years in India. Like that's very much known to all of us. And the one primary reason why common man, more and more common people are coming forward and doing retail investing using the broking platforms is because now, like we feel that okay, it is more and more safe to consider our phone, our hand phone or our cell phone as an investment aid belonging to your platform. So definitely the type of risk that you see is very much different from what is seen um, in the rest of the financial sector. So from your perspective, what are the specific risks or unique risks which is applicable to your industry, considering the specific
See,
challenge that they're facing?
yeah, in intermediary business, particularly stockbroking, uptime is very crucial because any impact on uptime and performance can lead to a direct financial impact. So
Mhm.
right from the morning opening hours, 9 to 3:30, any incident, be it cyber or technical, we have to be very careful that it can have a direct impact on the customers who are depending on you for execution. And that's why the regulator has also come up with stringent reporting norms for all the members. If the systems are down, we have to report within a specified time. And if there are incidents beyond six or, there is a defined number of incidents which you can have, beyond that, you will be penalized. There is also a regulation which says that the members' IT infra needs to update the capacity, 5-minute average of the capacity to the exchange, on the nodal exchange, which is monitoring it to ensure that you have sized it properly, that the end investor is not impacted with any incident, be it cyber, be it capacity issue. The objective is to ensure uptime for the investors. That is very specific. If in other industries, uptime is important, but here it is any lapses will be a hit on, and there will be a direct financial impact. That is point number one. When we talk about interfaces, unlike other, banking industry, we have interfaces with multiple entities. The depository participant will have interfaces with depository. You have bank gateways. You have API-based trading, which is exposed. So there are many vulnerable points which needs to be factored when you design a cybersecurity environment or a resilient environment for an intermediary business, which is a challenge, and any impact on any of these points can lead to an incident, which in turn will have an impact on your business.
Got it. So while confidentiality and integrity aspects are super critical, um, can I, can I, like, um, is my understanding correct that availability is one of the crucial aspects, which is very
Yes,
critical when it comes to broking and securities industry, because time and uptime is something which is given so much importance from SEBI due
correct.
to obvious reasons.
Yeah, and that is very unique to broking. And
I understand.
high frequency client access, third party API integrations, and there are behavioral manipulation risks. So all these, any incident, any such incident can lead to a ripple effect on the connected systems as well, and that will also be fatal.
Got it. Thank you so much. Uh, from Venu, I would like to hear more about, like, when it comes to phygital banking, typically the type of the term that we see nowadays, where it's a mix of physical branch banking plus the mobile as well as digital networks. There are a lot of new cybersecurity challenges which are emerging, right? Especially as AI accelerates both customer experience, innovation, as well as cybercrime. So I'm sure, like, the organization as well as the industry that you are representing have been in the forefront. Lot of initiatives have been taken, and which has been hugely successful. So, would like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah. So basically, as you rightly said, it has moved from a fintech kind of or digital banking kind of an environment where physical and digital is actually, a lot of advancement in terms of banking has happened. So one of the reason, of course, is the fintech disruption itself, right? If you remember after the COVID, right, after the pandemic situations, a lot of organizations started, connecting with the banks with an open banking technology and carry out various value additions and various, user experience based banking aspects. The other key trigger point is in terms of the experience, the younger consumers. We don't, we have the same old generation. We also cater to the mid and younger generations. So which they want anytime, anywhere, Swiggy kind of an experience in banking also. Right? So that experience is actually a key trigger point when it comes to the transformation of banking from what it was from a brick and mortar to or a branch banking to what you see today. Right? From a challenge or issue standpoint, we also come across, of course, as you rightly said, AI is one major concern because the velocity at which, or the scale at which the AI can penetrate, for example, deepfakes video images can be created now with very facial expressions and minute expression accuracy, right? We will not be able to distinguish between a real person and the AI, right? Earlier, we still be able to sort of recognize it. So AI, has been a major disruption from a negative aspects, as well as, of course, there are positive side of artificial intelligence also in terms of detecting the frauds. And the other aspect is in terms of synthetic IDs. Of course, the synthetic IDs used to, people used to, the fraudsters used to take time and then create a synthetic ID. They used to do research and all those stuff, say that, okay, there's a PAN card of Venugopal, and then, this is his address, and then I create an, take a social media picture and then create an ID. Now that can be done in seconds. Synthetic IDs can be created just like that, and then, fake accounts can be created unless the bank have a necessary mechanism and to detect the fake and AI related controls will not give. The other part is in terms of the fraud detection, the fraud velocity. Again, the velocity at which the frauds are happening. You would have definitely known about the, buy now, pay later kind of applications, right? So where customers have been scammed and loan application has been exploited with AI, technologies or AI bots, and fraudsters used to automate the scale of attacks in a large manner, and frauds used to happen. So the ecosystem from API is also another aspect. While the fintech integration had actually helped the banks to test out new avenues, it also created certain risks. For example, how many APIs the bank can be required to connect, right, for various services or various businesses. That's also an ecosystem. API is also getting complex, and unless we have a proper a framework around the APIs, the banks are open banking framework, that is going to be a challenge. Then, of course, from a resiliency standpoint, right? Now, if you see most of the circulars and other regulators are actually talking about open resiliency kind of a thing, right? So how do you do it? Not just attacks will happen, but when to happen and how to withstand that particular attack and then resume back our operations. So resiliency has taken a front seat. So that's the key aspects or key changes or shift in the banking side we could see in the last few years.
And definitely the industry has been so successful in managing those risks, like
Yeah,
which has primarily contributed to the adoption
true,
across. Thank you
true.
for that. Babitha, representing a large bank, you like in addition to the risk that Venu has just mentioned, I'm sure those risks are applicable across the banking industry. You have an additional challenge of coupling the legacy systems with the rapid digital adoption. So again, with the rise of AI driven fraud, deep fake based social engineering, etc., like would you like to add to the risk that Venu mentioned on from a large bank perspective? Like how do you handle it?
See, when it comes to the perspective of legacy systems, okay, legacy systems will be there everywhere, whether it is a large bank or a small bank or any other organization. But what we have to look into is what is the mitigation controls in place. If you take any attacks which has been which we have come across, we'll understand that it is due to the misconfiguration of the system that has led to the attack, and it is not due to some sophisticated technology has been used for it. So, in that way, if you look into governing the things in a more secured way by putting all the configurations and putting additional mitigation strategies in place, like monitoring those devices which may not be feasible to port to the new systems and all, we can have mitigation controls in place which will alert us when, if at all, any vulnerabilities or any loopholes is being exploited by the external threat actors. So now legacy system is actually not a problem, but because we have lot many security controls which are in place, security solutions are in place, with which we will be at least in the position to detect it immediately when something goes wrong. Then when adding to what Venu has
Venu
mentioned
has mentioned.
with the AI security and deepfake and all, that prevails actually. Now, if you see, in earlier days also banks were adopting to document that check verification, forged check verification or fake notes and all. They are done in a small scale, like where we are trying to identify that any pattern mismatch is there. So this kind of technology has been adopted by BFSI sector long time back, but now when it comes to voice cloning or impersonation and all that, there comes the sophistication of the technology and how we can try to identify it. Especially now we have moved from branch banking to the where we are even verifying the customers through VKYC or EKYC. So how we will identify that person who is registering as a customer of the bank is a real person or not. So for that we have to leverage technologies like AI, which will help us to counter identify that whether it is fake or not. So that is like every lock has a key, or the way with the venom from the snake need to be taken by the snake itself. So the some kind of that kind of technology, that is what need to be adopted now. With AI only we can stand for this kind of things which is caused by AI. So banks should adopt to such kind of technology, and even now we are going for this quantum security, post quantum security, like what will happen for the non-quantum safe cryptography which is being used by many of us for many other for the encryption. So we have to start leveraging in our strategy to adopt to quantum safe technologies. And again, even if we are using AI solutions, how secure, how we can stop AI from going biased, or how we can ensure that data leakage is not happening when we are training the AI. So how we are fixing the guardrail. Here also the starting word, that configuration matters the most. How we configure the system, that is the preliminary thing. The hygiene, we should follow the hygiene of configuring or hardening the system, whether it has been AI or whether it has been a cryptocurrency or cryptography or whatever new technologies we are adopting to. We should have the hardening policies in place, which is implemented and monitored intact. So that is why many times if we come across, we have security solutions in place, but attacks are happening. How? Because of misconfigurations. The solutions are not being configured in the way it need to be. So whether we are doing the review, once we are implementing it, whether are we doing some test cases like red teaming or blue, some simulations which make sure that the system is configured in the way it need to be. So these are the primary things everyone have to keep in their mind, that just by implementing some solution doesn't stop attacks. How we configure it, how we monitor it, how we try to understand that what is going wrong and fix that, so that instead of an external actors coming and attacking us and taking away our crown jewel data and all out, instead of that we should be prepared enough to understand what is going wrong in our environment, the visibility right from the asset to what vulnerabilities we have. That understanding should be there with everyone. So these are the primary things which has come to my mind with respect to this.
Absolutely, Babitha. In fact, as you rightly said, when it comes to most of the cybersecurity incidents or breaches, the in majority of cases, the fundamental reason will be misconfiguration or something which is very basic controls which are missing. Typically, like in my consulting journey with our organization, SecNSure, we have come across situations where organizations have invested on, like simple example, DLP, to meet the checklist, but at the same time not realizing or having a definition on what exactly is the type of sensitive data that should be controlled from getting exfiltrated from the organization. What are the different exfiltration channels and how that need to be monitored. So having different solutions, fancy solutions purchased and implemented without really understanding how exactly the policy aspects need to be designed and configured is something which is very, very visible across. Thank you for bringing in that perspective, Babitha. Just adding to that, uh, like like there has been, like we see a lot of risks, associated risks which are emerging these years, but at the same time there are, like, that also brings a lot of opportunity for BFSI players to leverage cybersecurity to not just for defense but to build trust, efficiency and new services. And that's something which has been huge contributor to the rapid adoption of digital banking in the nation. So would like to hear from Babitha and Venu on what is your perspective on that. Like, what are the opportunities in which the leveraging cybersecurity has brought in more customers or more success to the organization?
See, when it comes to banking, we say it's based trust-based business. Okay, but when it comes to cybersecurity, we say don't trust anyone. That is a zero trust what we follow. But by extending digital platform and more products and services to the customers, the trust now digital trust is what we are expecting to give to our customers. Like how far we are able to ensure that their data is safe with us. So now security can be even a product now. How the more secured, the more business or more high value customers can go to that organization who are providing much secured features for securing their accounts. So it's always like security, banks are holding people's money and we have to ensure that the trust of the people should be with us. And for that, definitely creating awareness is more important, because whichever frauds which has happened, if you see, it is not due to something has gone wrong at the bank's end. It is due to some mistakes or some negligence which has happened from the customer front by answering even. But now there are a lot of ads or mediums through which we are trying to educate the customers in all ways. But it is the due to these frauds are mainly happening because of the unawareness or emergency situation or emotional blackmailing. All those kind of scenarios are the one which is taking the people to these kind of fraudulent situations. So definitely bank has a big role to play in sensitizing them, and educating them the kind of transactions what they are carrying and whom they are interacting for carrying such kind of transactions. That it is a continuous process, because new tactics of attacks will come into existence, and we have to leverage to that. And for that, banks are adopting AI technologies to understand the voice communications which are being done during the call agents making call to the customer, whether that is a genuine kind of way we are doing. And Trier also has come up with that SMS will be sent from this brand of from this bank. This SMS is from has come. All those things are there, but this should be made aware to the customers also, that bank is doing all these things to ensure that these are done for them. So for here also AI comes into pictures to understand the profiling, user behavior, or what kind of behavior that person is, and what kind of activities they are doing, and try to understand fraudulent account and block it. Trying to understand mule accounts through AI patterns and all. See, all these are different measures which banks are taking to identify and build more trust of our customers.
Thank you, Babitha. And I believe more the sense, like more and more, the sense of security you are able to give back to your customers, that equates to more business, right? Or more
Yeah.
business win.
Just wanted to add one point with respect to the trust part. In banking, we earlier we used to say that okay, we protect the money, right? Now we protect the trust, because that's what essentially happened with all this digital banking. Because end of the day, customer can actually work with you in a digital fashion if they get the trust that okay, your systems are secure and you have adequate measures to ensure that the fraudulent actions cannot happen in your bank. The other part is if you see, like when the UPI actually started very proliferating, the banks who adopted the security technologies, right? The device binding or in-app fraud detection or AI-based fraud detection, they have a really good response. A lot of customers go with them and they still trust them, and a lot of customers who started doing online transactions, right? And they use it for other purposes, so even for shopping, yeah? Instead of using a Paytm or any other this thing. So banks also have the UPIs. They started trusting those APIs and then benefit out of it. So this is some of the aspects which has come from with the trust. Right? If you're able to build the trust with the customers with the digital banking, with the cybersecurity and adequate security measures, you will gain trust.
Thank you, Venu. And from your perspective, like that, we spoke about risks, we spoke about opportunities, and how investing on security has helped the banks, and like banks with huge legacy, like the bank that you are representing, with a lot of success and trust when it comes to customer adoption. Uh, and a lot of technology aspect that we heard from Babitha on banks have adopted and has been in the journey of adopting, and what are the some of the pitfalls which need to be focused when it comes to like putting those controls actually into practice. In spite of all those, like we are all like across the spectrum, across the industry, there can be some big shocks when it comes to cybersecurity that experts can always predict. Like a couple of years back, I heard an expert talking about next big shock, um, related to some of the ransomware attacks which are potentially going to happen in some of the healthcare organizations across in the nation. So that has come true. Likewise, when it comes to BFSI, what is your prediction or thought on the next big shock in BFSI cybersecurity? What would it be? Sorry for putting you on spot there, but
No, absolutely fine. In fact, uh, without any doubt, the point number one would be the proliferation of artificial intelligence-based attacks. I don't want to narrate it because a lot of panelists are already told, and everyone is actually experiencing that. But however, there are certain other big shocks are there which we need to be careful, especially when it comes to the banks, when it comes to scaling up their services. For example, concentration risk with respect to clouds, right? Now, cloud will definitely help our organizations to scale up their kind of an infrastructure and support. But today we already have two or three, major ISP or cloud providers. Now, how resilient is their services? How do you the cloud adoption will actually impact your resiliency factor is something which need to be looked into. For example, there is a super cloud services impact which you would have heard in Australia, right? So the entire nearly 10 years of customer data, the pension funds and their records were accidentally removed. Of course, part of the configuration part, right? While they do have a multiple disaster recovery centers and everything, the one configuration mistake of deleting that particular thing, the entire bank or the pension fund of an organization has been gone into this thing. They are unable to recover it. Wherever they have downloaded, have an offline copy, they were able to save it. But otherwise, they lost everything. So concentration risk is one key area which you need to. I'm not telling only from a cloud standpoint, but concentration risk as a whole, right? From not only from cloud, but also from your vendors, right? There are already key vendors who will be offering certain one or two services, right? In case if we are seeing now, Microsoft actually behaved recently, and then of course they have salvaged the situation, and then including the email services got impacted. So some of those biggies, the concentration risk is a key factor which need to be looked into. And the other is in terms of the legacy part of it, because many of the solutions are very proprietary, tightly coupled, not an open standard and all, right? So if you're tied to that, of course the vendor will be tied with you. You will have to manage them if they are even if they are not providing the right set of services. So, I mean, basically concentration, locking with vendors, all these are some of the other big shocks which need to be looked
thank you
at,
so
other
much,
than
Midhun.
AI.
And yeah, AA comes first, right? Like as
Yeah,
the biggest shocker there. Thanks.
No,
Thank you.
I just want to add on to what Venu has mentioned. He has rightly mentioned that concentration is. I would like to make it explicitly that it is a third party risk. Third party risk is the highest risk that we are going to face, because AI is prone to only those people who are adopting to AI. But third party is the one which has been adopted by everyone. And in that third party, now itself, many solutions are getting merged to one vendor. Okay, and it is becoming their monopoly. And what happened with CloudStrike? It is, even if it is just an incident, and but lot of entire industry as well as many of the sectors, including the airways, has come to a standstill. So this is what we have to look into: how secured are our third party.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Babitha. Like third party risk is something which is always looming. And I always refer to the quote by John Glenn, the famous astronaut, on during an interview. Like media asked him what goes through his mind when he sits on top of the rocket launching, just prior to the launch, when he hears the countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what goes into his mind? With a smile he said, uh, I the thought that goes into my mind is I'm sitting on top of a of an aircraft which is composed of millions of parts which are manufactured by a lot of vendors who are chosen primarily based on the lowest bid criteria. So definitely, uh, SEBI and Reserve Bank of India has laid out very strong guidelines in terms of vendor risk management. But at the same time, there is a lot of unknowns than knowns when it comes to cybersecurity aspects, primarily from a third-party area. So, as you rightly said, yeah, AI is there, but at the same time, third party is more unknown, where like huge risk is always looming. Thank you for adding that perspective. Uh, these new regulatory challenges, the regulatory requirements, as well as cybersecurity risks, has always pushed the cybersecurity and IT into bringing in more innovation in terms of meeting those requirements. At the same time, might have ended up in making a better product or process. So, would like to hear from Midhun on, as well as Jojy, on how in your respective industries you have experienced some of these, and what is the difference that was primarily triggered positively from a cybersecurity push.
Nice question, Georgie. Actually, yeah, everyone thinks that regulators sometimes may excuse you, or acting as a blockade, or bringing more and more the resistance sometimes. But apart from that, actually, yeah, they sometimes actually help a lot to innovate in many areas, like be it in the process, or be it in the on the customer experience and all. And like in our case, actually, since we are operating in multiple countries, when it comes to the digital onboarding, yeah, we all say this EKYC. Okay, it's very it's very popular among on the customers. Like, it's they don't need to visit the branch with a lot of the documents and all. Doing be at home, using your mobile or the laptop, you can do the onboarding and all that. Brings a lot of easiness for the customers, right? At the same time, the other end, actually, every country, every regulators have their own regulations on this EKYC. So be a global partner, actually going with all these specific regulation, okay, with the third party, that is almost impossible, because in terms of cost, we have to have multiple third parties to have that. Then this risk assessment, like Babitha says, actually, when it comes to a third party, all these risk assessment will take it's a long journey, I mean, to complete the onboarding and all, right? So that actually really pushes to build our own solution, EKYC solution, okay, which cater all these countries requirement. And we successfully implemented in almost all GCC and APAC countries. So that's one area, actually, regulator pushed us to innovate. And the second one is actually on the compliance part. On the compliance part, actually, these are the same regulation, actually, to reduce the false positives, as well as to, because in remittance, actually, customers are anticipating instant transfers, instant money credits. All right. So be it stuck on the AML checks and all, they can't wait. So here also, actually, we implemented some sort of the automation using the AI to reduce the false positive on the AML checks. Plus, to enhance the customer excellence, we built our own open telemetry based observability platform to give us the early detection on the API failure or the application failure, or a customer get impacted. So before they get to know, we can, when we use to act it on. So these are the areas, actually. Now I remember that regulations pushed us to innovate.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that success story, Midhun. In fact, I understand your regulatory requirements, the complexity with varying regulatory requirements across. Then you were able to successfully stitch all those together, primarily from a vendor management, or click, or not from a vendor management, but from any third party perspective, and bring an online intelligent EKYC solution, which definitely would have contributed to the success of the organization that you represent. Thanks. Jojy, would you?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. So I see security as a service enhancer. It is not just a shield. Actually, I can point multiple examples. Say, when we enabled biometric based access, biometric combined with TOTP, it improved the access speed. The investor could access the platforms very fast without typing the password. So just as very simple example. So when we have uh, automated resilience, in fact, it is improving the trust, and the faster recovery from any incident will lead to a better trust. So that will definitely reduce the anxiety during a volatile market. So knowing the system won't crash mid-trade is a huge psychological win. So you are relying on a robust platform, a resilient platform, and you can focus on your trade, and the anxiety levels, will not be, preventing you in taking informed decisions. That's a huge win. So, in fact, when we have a resilient system, the confidence in platform reliability, that will increase, and that is a constructive thing. So there are automated resiliency uh, orchestration, which we have experienced reduce switchover time. So that is also minimizing downtime during incidents and drills. It will also eliminate human error. So there are many examples which we can point that many of the security features have turned to be a service enhancer, and that will help to boost investor confidence. That will help to boost platform reliability. And I would see it constructively that the way you implement and the way you train, that is also important. You have to, when you are coming up with a security feature, you have to train your consumers or users, and that will also help to ensure that they are well equipped to use that feature or function or whatever it is.
Thank you so much, Jojy. In fact, yeah, that is another like classic example of how security has contributed to the innovation push and um, to the um, to the business benefit for the organization. Past 1 hour, we have been like we discussed about some very interesting case studies from across different industries within fintech, and we see that this has brought in a lot of attention from audience across the globe. We have a lot of questions, but for in the benefit of time, I would request the organizers to allow us like we have already taken 1 hour, so additional 5 minutes just to answer some of the questions, and definitely the panelists will be happy to address some of the questions even after that. We are reachable. We share the coordinates here. We would like to take some of the questions. So, first question is on how often are financial institutions conducting risk assessments? I know there is no like finite statement, like finite answer, like okay, we conduct once in a year or once in 6 months or so. Definitely, that depends on a lot of factors. I would request one of the panelists to share thoughts on this particular question.
Based on the criticality definition, for critical assets, it can be quarterly or half yearly also, but not for all the assets. We follow the practice of classification and then a risk-based approach.
Absolutely. Risk-based classification and categorization is something which defines or helps the CISOs to decide on what is the frequency and the method in which risk assessments need to be conducted across various processes within the organization. And the specific point on third-party risk management is Babitha brought in has triggered a lot of questions. So one of the questions: what role does third-party vendor risk management play in cybersecurity incidents in financial services? Babitha, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, see, the rule that third-party vendor is, see, normally what we follow is we follow with SLA. In the SLA, there will be a penalty clause stating that if some incident happens, this much amount of money will be penalized. But I don't believe in such things, because that is after something happening, and we don't know what will be the impact which we are having and what kind of loss we'll be having. So I have always advised that risk assessment should be done before even onboarding the vendor, and it should be a continuous process. If it is a critical system which they are handling, we should have a thorough idea about what is the security posture, what they are handling at their end, and how they are managing. So it is actually responsibility lies with the organization only. If something goes wrong, we are the one who are able to, who should be answerable to regulators as well as the customers. The third party has lesser liability, even if we put the penalty clause in the SLA.
So context-based risk assessment on third parties prior to onboarding the vendor, as well as continuous risk assessment, and having partnership in the engagement is something which is super critical in terms of the organization understanding the risk and managing it across, and thereby reducing the security incidents as well. That's what you wanted to convey, right, Babitha? Thank you for
Yes,
that. One final question that we will be taking is, how do you measure employee readiness to respond to phishing or social engineering attacks in the context of fintech?
Yeah.
Employee
So
readiness
one,
in terms of like managing this. Yeah, please.
yeah.
Venu.
So one measurement which we typically do is the PPP, phishing prone percentage. So the employee would be trained and retrained twice. I mean, you can actually measure your maturity at various levels, of course. You can give them the training, and you can also give them some sort of a gamification kind of a training also in terms of how they will be able to detect if this is a phishing mail or it's a genuine or benign mail, etc., etc. And giving various scenarios, they can try simulating certain attacks and things. So where you can able to find out, okay, what is the probability of a person clicking a link or falling prey to a phishing kind of a simulation test, right? So PPP is one measurement which we typically takes. And the other aspect is in terms of like people who are already, who fall for it. Now, how are they able to behave back, right? After the any training or retraining has been provided, how is their behavior changes? How prone, are they in terms of clicking such links or, being part of the bait, falling prey to a bait or phishing attack is something which can be mentioned.
Thank you so much,
One
Venu.
point
And
which I would like to add to Venu is that uh, uh, the rate of success of phishing. One another rate is like how many people has responded that it is a phishing mail. So that is the actual test, that's pass of the test, because phishing mails will change and people might click on it. It is like it's not possible. Like it might pick, even we might click on some phishing mail, but the moment we click, are we able to understand that it is a phishing mail and reporting it to the concerned team to take necessary action is what is the actual success of a phishing.
absolutely. And in the case of banks, definitely the phishing response, the ability to recognize and respond to phishing mails is critical, both from an employee as well as your customer base, right? And something which I see a lot of banks are investing heavily in terms of educating the common man or their customers, in ensuring that they're able to identify and respond in the right manner. Thank you so much. Last 1 hour has been a huge investment for me as well as for the audience in listening to uh, like vast experience from different perspectives across the fintech industry. We have heard the emerging risks which are happening or coming up in the which is making the risk landscape more and more complex in banking, securities, or remittance industry, and how different organizations are adopting new technology and processes in combating them. And we have heard a couple of use cases where these cybersecurity risks and compliance challenges have really triggered into something which is more innovative. And now we see CISOs sitting more comfortably and more confidently in terms of the ability. Not like CISOs will never say that we have the ability to combat each and every cybersecurity risk, but the maturity in terms of, okay, like if a cybersecurity incident happens, okay, we have the organization has got the maturity or the ability to respond to it or manage it is something which is very evident from the body language of each and every like CISO that is representing the panel here today. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you once again, Kalapuli Cyberdome, for giving us the opportunity to share the thoughts. Thank you so much for the audience for your attendance, eagerness, and a lot of questions which we will try to answer in subsequent hours or days. Thank you so much once again. Have a very
Thank you.
good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.